The following program contains politically irreverent commentary. If you suffer from an exaggerated sense of self-importance, this show might not be right for you. Check with a PhD in PC, ASAP.
Mr. Mohammed, I've got something to say. No, you listen to me, man. Don't you walk away. What? You're picking up your sword? No, man, not today. Oh, sure. Allahu Akbar, Krapa. No, really, Mohammed. You've got to chill out, dude. Come on. Take a drink. Have some happy food. Bacon? Pork chops? The other white meat's not so crude.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Welcome back, friend. We are continuing on with our series on the Muslim Brotherhood. What would Islamic terrorism be without the Muslim Brotherhood? The world is indebted to the Muslim Brotherhood for the spread of violence, murder, terror. Yes, all the things that make Islam great. Tell us about it, Granny.
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah takrapa! Children, listen to Quran as it teaches us about jihad. Fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you. Slay them wherever you find them, because idolatry is worse than carnage. Fight against them until idolatry is no more and Allah's religion reigns supreme. Now, children, run along. Get your sword.
Welcome to today's program, friend. We are in a multi-part series on the Muslim Brotherhood. So if you have not been watching the show for the past few nights, I want to encourage you to go to voiceofresistance.com if you want to learn more about the Muslim Brotherhood. In yesterday's show, we closed out with the Egyptian government having Hassan al-Banna assassinated. Al-Banna was assassinated after one of the members of the Muslim Brotherhood assassinated the Egyptian prime minister. The Muslim Brotherhood's modus operandi, has been consistent, starting with Hassan al-Banna himself to the present. Namely, we're just good guys who want to participate in the government, but we'll overthrow the government, we'll kill you and anyone who stands in our way to achieve our goal of reinstituting Sharia law, Islamic law, and bringing together all Muslim nations so that they're one nation and we have one caliph. It is their goal. If you missed the shows, go and look at it. All right. I also want to say this. Know thy enemy. Know thy enemy. And by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood is your enemy. If you are a Christian and you want to see freedom of religion and freedom of press and the ability to criticize your government and to criticize Islam, if you want to see that be a part of your life, if you don't want to live as a slave under Sharia law, then trust me. No, don't trust me. Trust the Muslim Brotherhood's own literature. Trust their founder. They are your enemy. They view you as an enemy, so you better view them as one. You can still love them. Jesus said, love your enemy. You can still try and convert them to Christ, but you need to know that if the Muslim Brotherhood had the ability, well, just look at what they're doing to the Christians in Egypt right now. Look at what they've done to Christians in Syria right now, or Christians in Afghanistan or in Iraq right now. That's what they would do to you. God save us from these people. All right. Hassan al-Banna is dead. Well, the void has to be filled. The void was filled by a man named Syed Qutb. Syed Qutb was and remains the next preeminent thinker and popular, I guess, theologian of the Muslim Brotherhood. His writings, including the book called Milestones, that, by the way, was written in prison and smuggled out of his prison cell, his writings are foundational to the modern philosophical justification of terrorism. Terrorism used for the extension of Islamic law. Indeed, Muhammad Faraj, who was the author of The Neglected Duty, that's the name of the track he wrote, The Neglected Duty, which is a widely read and influential writing on the duty of immediate jihad, the duty for immediate jihad by virtually all Muslims. He was also one of the assassins of Anwar Sadat. That man was a disciple of Qutb's teachings. So, Syed Qutb, his message was simple, almost elegant, and it demanded immediate concrete action. And his reasoning, though in some ways it would have been kind of lofty, it was accessible, readable, and he stayed tight to his themes. So first, for example, the whole world, including new nation states, nations that had once been a part of the Islamic Empire, that these nations had drifted into a state of ignorance, similar to the times before Muhammad, all right? Before the Quran and Sharia law had been given to man. And he repeatedly used a Quranic word, a word in the Quran, jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah. The word means ignorance and confusion. He constantly referred to jahiliyyah in his writings to describe the current geopolitical world, the world of politics around the nation. Can I read this quote, or can I do it when I come back? All right. Here's what he said. We are also surrounded by jahiliyyah today, which is of the same nature as it was during the first period of Islam, perhaps a little deeper. Our whole environment, people's beliefs and ideas, habits and art, rules and laws, is jahiliyyah, even to the extent that what we consider to be Islamic culture, Islamic sources, Islamic philosophy, and Islamic thought are also constructs of jahiliyyah. So basically what he's saying is that just because a man says he's a Muslim and writes something like the satanic verses, I don't remember the man, his name just left my mind. I'll tell you when we come back from this break. The guy who wrote satanic verses, yeah, Salman Rushdie, thank you. Salman Rushdie wrote satanic verses. He is a Muslim. And he criticized and mused on certain aspects of the Quran and Muhammad's life. Well, they issued a death threat against him, enforced to this day. The Ayatollah Khomeini himself called for him to be murdered. Okay? So you and I had better take these people in deadly earnest. There are members of my staff who have, what are they called again? Fatwas. Fatwas against them. Egyptian Muslim clerics, Pakistan and one other country, called, Indonesia I believe, called for certain members of my staff to be murdered. Issued fatwas because they dared to speak against Islam. That's part of the state of confusion. I've got to take a break. Eating up way too much time. Don't go away. We're going to continue talking about Syed Qutb and the Muslim Brotherhood when we return. I'll be right back. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. the most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Welcome back to the program. Syed Qutb, the next theologian of importance in the Muslim Brotherhood, he cried out like a Muslim prophet of old, saying, "We must also free ourselves from the clutches of Jahili society." It is not, he reasoned, that modern Western societies are confused in a philosophical sense, but that even so-called Muslim societies are illegitimate in the legal and constitutional sense. Here's exactly what he said. He said, all the existing so-called Muslim societies are also Jahili societies, confused, ignorant. Therefore, all these Jahili societies can be described in one sentence. Islam considers all these societies un-Islamic and illegal. All right? So, by the way, you can guess what happened to him. I'll tell you in a minute. But he is saying, look, this is what Islam is. And what's happening in Saudi Arabia or in Egypt or in Iraq, that's not Islam. We don't get to redefine Islam any more than some, Catholics for free choice. I'm Catholic, but I believe a woman should be able to kill her baby. Then you're not Catholic, okay? You're not expressing the Catholic faith. Well, I'm an evangelical, but I don't believe that people have to be born again to go to heaven. Well, then you're not an evangelical. You and I do not get to redefine a religion based upon our hopes, desires, or our whims. And Qutb said the same thing. Here is Islam. You want to know Islam? Study Muhammad's life, study the early companions. This is what they did. And if you're not doing that, you ain't Islam. All right. He said that the only way to be freed from ignorance, from this foolishness, this jahiliyyah, is to enforce Sharia law. Here's what he said. The basis of the message of Islam is that one should accept the Sharia without any question and reject all other laws in any shape or form. This is Islam. There is no other meaning of Islam. That's the quote. Syed Qutb, Milestones. You want to know what Islam is? You have to submit to and embrace Sharia law. You surrender. You say that there is no God but God, no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. And then you follow the lifestyle of Muhammad and you obey the Sharia law. That's Islam. So his meaning was simple. If you've got a so-called Muslim leader who's not enforcing Sharia law, he's a traitor. He's an apostate. And he is illegitimate. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I will show you what he said, and you'll see, again, how he influences modern terrorists. And you have to understand what they're after, and you have to let them and the Muslim Brotherhood speak for itself. Don't go away. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. The Muslim Brotherhood, founded by Hassan al-Banna, is also guided greatly by Sayyid Qutb. We are looking at the theological, or the theologian successor, as it were, of al-Banna in this man, and what he wrote and what he said that influences Muslim terrorists basically every day of the year. So he mused, all right, how, given the current confused state of affairs, are true Muslims going to bring about freedom from Jahiliyyah and the implementation of Sharia law? How are we going to do it? Well, he said, look, guys, preaching is not enough. Here's what he said. The establishing of the dominion of God on earth, the abolishing of the dominion of man, the taking away of sovereignty from the usurper to revert it to God, and the bringing about of the enforcement of the divine Sharia law and the abolition of man-made laws cannot be achieved only through preaching. To break the hold of illegitimate jahiliyyah, confused, ignorant authority, inside and outside traditionally Muslim lands, requires force, requires the sword, commonly known as jihad. Here's what he said. This Islamic movement uses the methods of preaching and persuasion for reforming ideas and beliefs, and it uses physical power and jihad for abolishing the organizations and authorities of the Jahili system, the confused, ignorant system. There's what he said. He uses force. Get rid of these governments. So if someone seeks to keep the message and the mission of Islam, seeks to keep it from becoming a reality, seeks to keep Sharia law suppressed, he said, and I quote, then it is the duty of Islam to fight him until either he is killed or he declares his submission. There you have it. People like you and I who want to keep Sharia law from being implemented, we are to be killed or fought until we submit. And if you look at the life of Muhammad, see, you might say, well, he's saying fight them, and if they submit at the last second, let them in. And that's exactly what happened. Again and again in Muhammad's life, people were right on the edge of being killed because they were not Muslims, and they said, hold on, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. I believe, spare my life. And Muhammad said, let him live, he's a Muslim now. They had no problem with using the terror of being decapitated with being the cause of someone's submission. That's Islam. And that's what Sayyid Qutb is saying. Fight them. If they submit, let them in. If they won't submit, kill them. All right, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, a few more quotes from him and how he met his end. Don't go away. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. the most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Welcome back to the program, friend. I hope that you're getting the grasp on the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood is committed to the use of force, murder, killing, to get the hands of, or the levers rather, of Islamic governments in their hands so that they can create one massive Islamic government with one caliph and one law, Sharia law. And then to branch out into the world with terror, as we've seen, so that Islam dominates the world. So, what he encouraged his readers to do was to, and I quote, strike hard at the political powers that sustain ignorance. Strike hard at all those political powers that strike hard at the state of ignorance. And after annihilating the tyrannical force, Islam establishes a new social, economic, and political system based on Sharia law. Well, author Nellie Lahoud noted that for obvious reasons, his work, Said Qutb's work, was interpreted by the authorities to preach a complete takeover of the whole society by the Muslim Brotherhood. And that was true. That's what he said. Well, the Egyptian government offered him a ministerial position if he would just moderate his views. He was refused, and therefore he was executed by hanging while he was in prison in 1966. So, Said Qutb, like Al-Banna before him, became a martyr. And his martyrdom ensured his position as a legend and a guide to the Muslim Brotherhood in particular, as well as Islamists and jihadi terrorists across the world. These two men, Hassan al-Banna and Said Qutb, more than probably anyone else, any others, have provided the philosophical underpinnings and the practical agenda for Islamic terrorists and jihadists throughout Egypt, throughout the Middle East, and throughout the world. As Dr. Timothy Furnish, a friend of mine, said so succinctly, Al-Banna believed in working from the bottom up. Qutb believed from the top down. Al-Banna was willing to work in whatever way he could. Qutb said, let's overthrow the government as quickly as we can, get the levers of power in our hands, and then implement Sharia law without hesitation. All right. Tomorrow we are going to look at the U.S. government's position on the Muslim Brotherhood, how we are dealing with them, and the danger that it puts all of us in. But I want to just stop for a minute and say this. Christians suffering anywhere in the world, it's our responsibility to do what we can to help them, to protect them, to stand with them. We are one body. The body of Christ is one. Okay? And what is happening to Christians in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Egypt, Iraq, Syria, at the hands of Muslim terrorists and devout Muslims who aren't even terrorists. They just believe in Sharia law. Hey, that guy said that Jesus is the Son of God, that Muhammad is a false prophet. He's got to die. All right? What's happening to those Christians is our business. That's why studying the Muslim Brotherhood is important. And the fact that they are trying to creep in with their tentacles and their ideology into our culture and into our country through various mosques, through various writings, through various websites, should be of great concern to everyone. And the very fact that those two young boys, the Boston bombers, those two young Muslim terrorists, were not even a part of the Muslim Brotherhood should even concern us more, because it's the ideology and the writings of the Brotherhood that are proving to be the fountain of terrorism that is a threat to us all. God Almighty, save us from the Muslim Brotherhood. Talk to you tomorrow.